Good morning. Today, we're going to talk about why human beings yo-yo in life. And the two examples that I'm going to give you are income and weight because, well, I work with salespeople, so those are the only two things that they really care about. And it's the two things that I naturally specialize in. Having worked in sales for 11 years, I understand the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. Having been in fitness now for 5 years, I understand the ebbs and flows. I understand why people lose weight, why it comes back on, and really the difference between somebody getting results and keeping results in both income and their weight and not. So just to formally introduce myself, my name is Brian Scuderi. I am a national champion sales manager, and I work with sales professionals to help them increase their health, their wealth, their fitness, so that way they can show up the best that they can possibly be in their business, their life, and their relationships. So with that being said, I want to talk to you today about the thermostat principle. Now, this was taught to me by the late, great Bobby P. If you don't know who that is, that's Bob Proctor. That gentleman right there has changed more lives than just about anyone else in the entire universe. So YouTube him after you're done watching this video. I'm going to show you with my beautiful drawing here a thermostat. Now, the concept of the thermostat principle is just like a thermostat in your apartment. When our results are set above our normalized standards, the standards that we identify with internally with our self-image, what we believe that we deserve, then we self-sabotage. So what does that look like? Well, I typically make $5,000 in a month as a sales professional, and all of a sudden I catch a big deal or I find a little burst of motivation and I make a couple extra phone calls here and there, and quote unquote, I get a little lucky and I made $10,000 in a month. That's like with a thermostat, it's set at 70, but all of a sudden, you find yourself at 90 degrees in the apartment. Well, what happens? The air conditioning comes on. And if we don't believe that $10,000, and you could see 5K and 10K, if we don't believe that $10,000 is the new standard in our life, if we can't identify that as something that we consistently deserve, then what ends up happening? Well, we self-sabotage. And what does that look like? It looks like, well, I could make 100 calls today, but I'll make 80. Like, I made 10 grand last month. Like, I'm good. Like, oh, deals are just coming to me. Like, I'll just kind of coast through into March, or I'll just coast through into the next month. And what ends up happening is we start to tell ourselves this story that like, oh, like, I don't know if I need to. That motivation isn't there. That pop isn't there. That urgency isn't there that created the 10K, because we naturally don't even identify that we even deserved it. We just say like, oh, that's cool. Like, I got a couple good deals. Now, the reverse is true as well. Let's say for some reason you slack off enough and you only make like $3,000 in commissions that month. And it's like, oh no, man, it's like, well, I identify with 5. Like, oh man, I had a really rough month. Well, what happens the next month? You pick up the phone, you start dialing to a level that you haven't dialed in a long time. You have way more urgency in your voice. You start to attract more new deals. And then you get right back up to 70, right? So if this hits 50, like the heat turns on, the gas turns on. Same thing with weight. Same thing with getting the body that you want. See, I've watched time and time again, even in my own self-image, where, I had unfortunately identified as somebody who was 225 pounds. So when I dropped down to 190 after my first year of taking my health seriously, this was 2018 to 2019, it was cool, but it didn't even feel like me. I almost had like a little bit of imposter syndrome. And what ended up happening? Well, I justified having an extra cheat meal. I don't need to track this week. Or I could just have 3/4 of a gallon of water. Like it just doesn't really matter. And what ended up happening was I had such good results that I started to cool off again. And people do that with business. People do that with income. People do that with their weight. People do that with relationships. Oh, I tried really hard. I attracted this woman or this man into my life. We have a wonderful relationship. We're in the honeymoon stage, but it's like I could text her and tell her I love her, but I'll tell her when I see her. And we just naturally self-sabotage because it's the old principle of it worked so well, we stopped doing it. So what I want you to do is I want you to see where in life you've increased your results and find out what it was that created that. And that becomes the new standard. See, when I level up in life, it's not because I just magically make more money, get more deals, get more clients, work out extra hard or anything like that. It's simply just because I increased my standards. I set the thermostat to a higher temperature, and naturally I attract different circumstances, experience, relationships, people, clients into my life and everything else comes along the way. So change your standards, change your life. Talk to you tomorrow.